Can you briefly introduce yourself and your role in the store?
I'm Olive. I'm in Form 3 Delonics. I've been in Form 3 since Form 1 and I'm in House Committee.
That's nice.
Well, I'm Ethan from Form 3 Cassia. I'm a student at Korea Secondary School.
Can you tell us your age, grade, and who lives in your home, as well as who helps with housework or childcare in your family?
I'm in Form 3. I'm 15 years old. My immediate family in the household consists of me, my older sister, my two parents, our domestic helper, and some pets.
14. I'm in Form 3. Who lives in my house? It's my parents and my helper. And
could I ask who helps with housework or childcare in your family?
It's mostly split between my helper, my father, yeah.
Most of the childcare when I was a kid was done by, I'd say, like my helper and also my parents.
When you hear the words domestic helper in Hong Kong, what are the first few words or images that come to your mind, and why?
I think some of the images that come up are cooking, taking care of babies, and just like Sundays, you know, when they all congregate at different parts of Hong Kong.
I think the first few images would be like Sundays on Central, like when they're all hanging out and sitting on the ground. Yeah, and words, I'd say like hardworking. I've met a lot of hardworking.
In Hong Kong, there are about 368,000 foreign domestic helpers as of 2024, which is close to around 10% of the entire workforce and a major pillar of childcare and elder care. Most are women from the Philippines and Indonesia who migrate here to provide live-in childcare, elder care, and housework, following government policies from the 1970s that actively brought in migrant careers to fill a shortage of local full-time live-in workers.
Our interviewees' pictures aren't random. Hong Kong's economy and family life rely heavily on these migrant domestic helpers, who live where they work and usually only have one fixed rest day. Their presence in public spaces on Sundays is one of the few times they can relax, socialize, and be seen as more than just workers.
Do you think labeling a domestic helper's title as a maid is ethical, and why?
I don't think it's like wrong, like technically that is what they are. It's not the word I would use specifically, and of course, you know, a maid implies that their sole job is to clean the house, which obviously they do more than just that. They take care of the children, they cook, they do a lot of things. I guess if someone wanted to call them a maid, it wouldn't be like incorrect, but it's not the word I would use.
I feel like maids are, it's a bit more like when you think of a maid, I think of someone you don't really see around the house, like they just do cleaning, but I think helpers do a lot more. They do like childcare, and they're in most cases like kind of a part of the family, so I wouldn't really see them, I really call them a maid.
In Hong Kong, the official term is foreign domestic helper or domestic worker, which recognizes that this is a job, not a servant relationship. Language really does matter. When we call someone a maid, we can unintentionally reinforce power imbalances and stereotypes that make exploitation more acceptable.
And what's the most upsetting thing you think about domestic helpers?
Upsetting?
Yeah, like
probably just like how poorly they can be treated and how, you know, objectified they can be by certain people. From my personal experience, I can tell you that my mother, for example, has not been very kind to the domestic helpers that my family has had, and often loses her temper with them, screams at them, treats them like a servant, and it's pretty upsetting to see.
do you think it's right for your mom to yell at them? Like, what if they did something wrong and your mom shouts at them? Do you think it's right for her to do that?
No, I think that's just a really childish and immature way of sorting out a conflict.
Like you mean what happens to them, or like?
Yeah, what happens to them?
I think there's a lot of cases where when they've just moved to Hong Kong, they get taken advantage of, like quite easily, like cases where they're not allowed to leave the house or they're not given a key to the house, and they have like curfews in some cases, like yeah, like on Sundays they're only allowed out for certain hours, and it's hard for them to meet their friends because of some employers.
And what struggles do you think domestic helpers face while working, and how do you think they cope with them?
Well, struggles could be, like I said, being mistreated by their employers, or being overworked by their employers, or being, a lot of the time domestic helpers are, you know, foreigners to Hong Kong, and often they can be discriminated against because of the way they look. There's really not that many ways that they can overcome these challenges. Like, there's not that many good ways they can overcome them. Obviously, if they're being overworked or mistreated, they can discuss it with their employer or even contact the police if necessary.
How do you think the kids who are being taken care of think about their domestic helpers?
I think a lot of kids don't recognize how helpful it is, because I feel like when I was a kid I didn't recognize in other countries this isn't really normal, like someone living in your house and helping you. So I feel like a lot of kids don't understand the value and how much work they're putting in, and because they're a whole person and normally they have families outside, but I think younger kids don't really notice.
Okay, and who do you think the kids who are being taken care of think about their domestic helpers? What are their views and perspective?
I think most kids have a very respectful and close relationship with their domestic helpers. A lot of domestic helpers raise these children as, almost like second mothers. So I think most children, especially these days in Hong Kong, will be quite grateful and quite appreciative of their domestic helpers.
And how do you think these domestic helpers see themselves in the family they're taking care of? A family themselves, or what?
I mean, from personal experience, I would say, I think my helper thinks of herself as a part of the family, because, we eat with her, we talk to her a lot. She is just a part of my family. I've never really seen her as anything different, but I could see in some families where, the helper sits in their own room to eat, just as someone who does the chores and not really anything else. I think there's, different families have different dynamics.
And how do you think these domestic helpers see themselves in the family they're taking care of? Just merely as a domestic helper, or something more or less?
I think it depends on the person themselves, on the domestic helper themselves. Some of them, if they've been in the family, if they've been working for the family longer, if they've been around the children more, they might see themselves as an auntie. A lot of people call them aunties instead of domestic helpers. But of course, if they maybe just been employed for a year or two, and by the time they came in, the children already grown up, then maybe they might just see it as more of a job.
Okay. And what kind of relationships do you think they have with their employees?
What kind of, how the helpers?
Are they just a helper to them, or maybe have more of a friendly relationship?
I mean, I think similar to the other question, I think helpers tend to be a lot closer with the kids. There's a lot of helpers, the kids and helpers have a closer relationship when the kids and with the helpers and the employees, actually, because they spend a lot of time together and they talk a lot more. So I think helpers could see themselves as kind of not a parental figure, but just a figure in the child's development and helping them grow and learn.
How often do you think domestic helpers travel to their home country?
I'd hope it'd be at least once a year, right? I don't know.
You know about the Hong Kong's 2-week rule?
No.
Foreign domestic helpers have work under a standard contract that requires them to live in the employer's home and only do domestic work for that household. There's also a 2-week rule that usually forces them to leave Hong Kong or find another employer within a very short time after the contract ends. This creates a huge power imbalance and makes it risky to complain or walk away from bad situations, leaving many of these workers trapped with no government protection.
Do you think this is an ethical role, or do you think it should be removed?
No, that seems really stressful. You get 2 weeks to find a new job, or you're kicked out. That's really stressful. I can't imagine doing that.
And we interviewed some domestic helpers on Sunday. Could you share your thoughts about this?
For you, because we are a helper, right? Some of the teenagers like you, bullying us.
Even in our school, sometimes they call you guys maids, and I was kind of no, it's not. You guys are still a person. You have a life.
They don't appreciate us, and they always say bad words. Really, that's true.
Do you experience it?
Yes, of course. I know the kids that I take care of, since he's not born yet. He was a boy. He was born, and then I take care of him 11 years. Yeah, but and he always said, "You're just a helper."
Says that? Then how do you deal with it? Like, what do you say to him?
Because if I say something, then he will tell me his mom.
Yeah, and
Then I will spoke with his mom. So it's better I just keep quiet. I'll just say something. Don't say like that, because I'm the one who takes care of you. But you're still not my mom.
They never learn from that.
Because what they see as what their parents do to me, then they will think that, oh, it's okay to say like that to our
then they will
helper. Yeah, they don't.
So what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I'm pretty surprised. Maybe it's just I've been fortunate enough in my experiences that most other kids I've seen with their domestic helpers, they've been usually quite kind. It's also interesting to hear that the domestic helper isn't allowed to talk back for fear of losing their job or getting in trouble with their employers. I mean, personally, if I said things like that to my helpers, they would have done with me adamantly. Also, again, that point about kids seeing the way their parents treat domestic helpers and then seeing that as validation that they can treat their domestic helpers equally as harshly. Again, that speaks to why I think that domestic helpers are treated really poorly by their employers specifically, and why that's a problem, because clearly it seems to have trickled down onto the kids as well.
What if you were to experience something like that, a kid saying something bad to their helper, what would you personally do?
I mean,
Would you teach them a lesson?
I mean, depends on the context. If it's some kid on the street, I think it's their business. But, if it's someone that I know, then I would probably tell them that they should treat their helper a bit better, their auntie a bit better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay.